Hi, guys. I wanted to provide a recap over the battle with Grendel. And I apologize for the fact that this is on PowerPoint and not the online textbook. The online textbook was giving me some trouble, so I just took pictures of my book. They're not the greatest quality, but the recap will still be the same. So, the battle with Grendel, finally, the moment has arrived. Beowulf and his men have been sleeping inside Harrett Hall to tempt Grendel. I wanted to point out on this first page how Grendel moves through the cloudy night up from his swampland, sliding silently. This is a great example of alliteration, which we will encounter a lot in this poem, along with kennings. So Grendel silently slides through and finds the warriors sleeping in Harrett Hall. Now, for 12 years, he's been attacking Harrett Hall, but for the most part, he's only been able to find men who fell asleep drunk in the hall. And so there was just one or two men there most nights. But here he finds a hall full of soldiers. And when he sees them all there, his heart laughs, it says. What an evil creature. And he's so excited to tear these men apart. But then you have this lovely moment of foreshadowing where it says, but fate that night intended Grendel to gnaw the broken bones of his last human supper, meaning he will never eat another man again. Grendel moves through, and I want you to notice that he does succeed in killing one of Beowulf's men before he attacks Grendel, or before he attacks Beowulf. And so I just want you to note that while Grendel snatches this Geat and rips him apart, Beowulf is just laying there asleep, letting one of his men die. That's worth mentioning. So then after he rips that Geat apart, then he moves next to Beowulf. And as soon as he clutches at Beowulf, Beowulf grabs Grendel back. He's leaning up on one arm, so he's got a hold of Grendel's hand. It's like claw to human fist, and he's holding it and he's bending it back, almost like some kind of strange standing arm wrestle. And all of a sudden, Grendel realizes how strong this human is, and his mind is flooded with fear. He says nowhere on earth had he met a man this strong, and he's afraid, and he just wants to run away. But Beowulf won't let him go. Higlac's follower, we have the kenning, says that remembering his boast, he's going to hold on to those claws until Grendel is no more. But Grendel wants nothing but escape. For the first time, this enormous beast is afraid. Then they begin to fight. They're throwing one another up against the walls of Harrett until the walls of Harrett Hall tremble. And they are struggling one against the other. And here's another great example of alliteration: bodies beating at its beautiful walls. And then there's this whole point here about how the noise is so great from their fight that they have woken up the Danes. Remember, they're in that village that surrounds Harrett Hall, and they're all in their own beds, but they can hear the battle going on in Harrett Hall, and they're afraid, and they're like cowering, they're like trembling under their bed covers. But they don't have to worry, because Hrothgar's wise men had built Harrett Hall to stand forever. Only fire could ever take it down. So they're not worried about Harrett Hall. They're probably just worried about Beowulf, and that this man who was going to save them isn't going to make it. Here we have another great kenning, that mighty protector of men, which means, of course, Beowulf, meant to hold the monster till his life leaped out. And so this battle continues. And then finally, all of Beowulf's men wake up and they start trying to attack Grendel too. It says they tried to hack at him from every side, but the points of their swords could not hurt Grendel. This is an important point. Grendel has bewitched all of men's weapons. He laid spells on them that blunted all the men's blades. This is an interesting point because we know Beowulf chose to attack Grendel barehanded. He chose not to use any weapons at all. And we thought that was kind of foolish. We thought that he should probably take some weapons in there, but now it turns out that his weapons would have done no good against Grendel anyway. And so they continue to fight hand to hand. And here in the end, Grendel begins to see that his strength is deserting him. Grendel realizes that he is going to die. And right at that moment, Beowulf rips Grendel's arm off from the shoulder. His entire arm gets ripped off. This monster claw. Beowulf is so strong that with his bare hands, he can rip bone, muscle, skin, all of it right off of Grendel the beast's body. Now, Grendel manages to escape, but it says here in the text that he escapes only to die. And I like the parallel structure here that after the bloody combat, when the Danes all come running to Heorot and they see the destruction, they see that Grendel is gone, that they laugh with delight. Just like at the beginning of this scene, Grendel laughed when he thought he was going to win. Now it's the Danes who get the last laugh. And then we have this bonus that the proof hanging high from the rafters is the monster's arm, claw, and shoulder and all. And this is why I have a giant arm of Grendel in my classroom. I'll take some pictures of that and let you see what they look like since it is not able to be in my room this year. And now then we have kind of a brief recap of what happens at the end of this battle, because now what we are going to read on our next lesson is that Grendel's mother is still alive. And when her son, her baby monster, comes dragging his dying self back to her lair, she gets enraged and she comes. The Danes are celebrating Beowulf's victory. Of course, they think that Heorot is safe now. So they spend the night in Heorot. They are thrilled to get to spend the night in their mead hall again. Little do they know that Grendel's mother is just as fierce as her son, and she comes in and kills people, including Hrothgar's closest friend, and she carries off the arm of Grendel back to her lair. And so now we have a brief section where Hrothgar pauses to describe the monster's lair. And I know this picture is really especially blurry, but you have a textbook too, so you can figure it out. And this is really a poetic description of what the lair looks like. And so it serves a couple of purposes for us. One, it is just a very important poetic section, but it also points out to us that they know that one of the devils is a female creature. So they know that this mother or this female is alive. Hrothgar describes her lair as being a place where wolf dens exist and where water pours from the rocks. There's a waterfall, there are these wolf dens, but then underground, no one knows the bottom of this lake. It is so deep that it is like a small ocean. And it's also very weird in that it's like a hot spring. It boils, and at night it burns like a torch. This is such a horrifying, weird lake so it says sometimes it has a frozen spray, sometimes it burns like a torch. And animals are afraid of it. It says if a deer was being hunted through the woods, it would rather die than jump into that water to save itself. That's how haunted and weird this place is where Grendel and his mother lie. But of course, it tells us at the end that Beowulf resolves to go kill Grendel's monstrous mother, because after all, he is a hero and Grendel was but his first antagonist. So you can tune in next time to read the Battle of Grendel's Mother.